What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the 11th December episode of Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know, including why Vince has lost it, as wrestlers react to Keith Lee and other big men receiving additional in-ring training, a new WWE brand, someone tried to hack into Renee's personal files, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Oh, I also have a third channel, so check that out if you can. Links in the comments down below. Now, as always, we won't recap the show, but just provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number one, a great promo from Owens. Now, Kevin Owens reminded fans why he's such a versatile performer despite not falling into WWE's traditional big man mold. Owens, whose Pillsbury Doughboy physique camouflages remarkable ring skills, and as Owens has been showing off as of late, fantastic microphone skills. KO's constant calling out of Reigns has helped create the sense that Owens can and will defeat the tribal chief at TLC, but it's not bloody likely, to be honest. But whilst it's unlikely he will, his ability to talk shows how important microphone skills are and can be in building a match, especially a main event. Number 2, good build up for the Street Profits versus Rude and Ziggler. Now, we won't waste your time reminding you how bad WWE's tag team division is. There is a ray of sunshine with the current Street Profits versus Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler program. Both teams have a good chemistry with each other, not only in the ring, but on the microphone. The WWE would be wise to give this program time to develop, including the heels winning the belts and the Street Profits chasing the new champions. Number 3, Otis finally in a program, but where is it going? After months of seeing his momentum destroyed, it's great to see Otis in a role where he does more than just get beat up as WWE's punching bag. He has lots to offer and is definitely over with the fans, but those same fans will give up on him if he doesn't get an interesting program to hold their interest. Otis's program with Chad Gable has only begun, so it's too early to tell if it's going to work for either superstar, but for now it's a start, and with any luck, the big man will get some quality television time and a push to match. Number 4, WWE trying to salvage Carmella vs Banks. Now, we give WWE credit for trying to salvage the nearly lifeless program between Carmella and SmackDown Women's Champion Sasha Banks, who, to be honest, looked incredible even in her entrance. Carmella's act as a loudmouth, self-centered heel took on a nastier edge when she broke a champagne bottle over the boss's back, suggesting there may be some fire to her glamour girl character. Giving Carmella a new entrance and theme didn't hurt her either, but the real difference is in her showing more of an edge. Number 5, Sami Zayn perfects his heel act. Last night's bout between Sami Zayn and Big E helped get over both Big E and Sami Zayn, with Big E looking dominant while Zayn looking as crafty as ever. It looks like Big E is being groomed for a possible run with the IC title, but there's no need to rush it as Zayn has carved out a good role as their cheating, whining and devious champion. Zayn continues to excel as an Intercontinental Champion in the vein of the Honky Tonk Man, a wrestler who seemed to have no chance of retaining the belt, but who always finds an underhanded way to win. But that was the good. What about the bad? As number 1, a meh main event. And while the WWE does deserve credit for polishing the turd that is the Carmella vs Sasha Banks program, putting it on as SmackDown's main event was a bad move, as it's hard to imagine the fans having much interest in the program so far. There is more to popularizing women's wrestling than throwing a match into the main event and pointing out how far women's wrestling has come. They need to build programs featuring wrestlers that fans care about and craft interesting storylines to lead into the matches. That hasn't been the case so far with Carmella vs Banks, but we're willing to give it a try. Now, there was nothing downright ugly about last night's show, and while there weren't many matches, SmackDown featured some great build-up for TLC, as well as forwarding undercard storylines like Otis's quest for getting his career back on track. What did you guys think of SmackDown? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, let's move on to the news. Our first story looks at why Vince just doesn't get it, and the real reason why Keith Lee was sent back to the PC. As disturbing news for Keith Lee fans, as it appears the big man's main roster push may be on life support. We recently discussed how a number of wrestlers were sent to the Performance Center to improve their wrestling, and chief among them is former NXT champion Keith Lee. Lee, who has been one of the most talked about wrestlers to jump on the main roster in recent memory, received a huge win over Randy Orton early on after his Raw debut, but since then hasn't had any major program. In an exclusive report by Ringside News, they explained, "We have a detailed exclusive coming about Keith Lee's current situation on the WWE main roster, why he was sent to training, and influences around Vince McMahon who aren't smartening him up about how incredibly over Lee is with the fans. Essentially, Vince doesn't get it with him." As some fans and wrestling pundits have pointed out that Vince McMahon doesn't have live audiences to measure the fans' response to individual wrestlers. However, how many times has Vince ignored the fans' reaction before the pandemic? As long as McMahon continues doing whatever he wants, regardless of the fans, an audience will have little bearing on wrestlers' pushes. Lee is just one of several big men who have been sent to the PC. Now, as you might expect, WWE superstars have reacted to what some see as a demotion in being sent to the PC for extra training. According to Fightful Select, some wrestlers are baffled at the Keith Lee situation, especially as he's been the subject of constant praise since his performance at the 2019 Survivor Series. Apparently, Otis has been criticized for working stiff, and it's said that extra training for Dabba-Kato and Omos seems justified considering their lack of experience. A tweet from recently rehired WWE producer Shane Helms seems to sum up the WWE's position on why some wrestlers are being sent to the PC. Players that make it to the NBA, NFL, NHL, etc. don't stop practicing and drilling just because they made it to the top. Being signed to a major promotion doesn't mean stop trying to perfect your craft. That's when you work even harder to perfect your craft. As fans have pointed out, the lack of house shows makes it difficult for wrestlers to hone their craft as often as they did before the pandemic. But what do you think of WWE sending these wrestlers out for training? Does Vince not get it? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Bruce Prichard blasts NXT training. Bruce Prichard continues to draw more heat in the WWE as rumor has it he's burying NXT's training methods during talks with Vince McMahon. Ringside News reported, fans were wondering why WWE sent so many big men back for more polishing up. There are a couple of reasons, but one that nobody's talking about is the fact that Bruce Prichard has buried NXT's training to Vince McMahon on several occasions. Vince McMahon has traditionally forced NXT wrestlers to prove their worth to him once they hit the main roster, regardless of their success on the black and gold brand or how over they are with the fans. If Bruce Prichard is Vince McMahon's ultimate yes man, as some reports suggest, is it any wonder he buries NXT? And whilst we're on the subject of NXT, NXT India is launching soon. A big news for WWE fans in India as Post Wrestling and Wrestlenomics are reporting that the WWE is currently planning to film its new series NXT India in January. According to the two news sites, the series is expected to air on linear television in India along with a new digital window through the WWE network. WWE has a distribution deal in India with Sony Pictures Networks India Private Limited, a deal which was extended this past March with the announcement of a 5-year renewal. The deal also includes SPN having the rights to WWE Network for its audiences. Now, India is a massive market and the WWE is wise to branch out and grow its fan base. The WWE is by no means the only entertainment company to capitalize on the international market, as film studios often make just as much in overseas markets as they do in domestic markets. It should be interesting to see which stars in NXT India eventually join the main roster. Next up, a hacker tried to access Renee's personal files. Now, Renee Young has announced that someone's recently hacked into her Dropbox, a cloud service for storing files. She tweeted, "Lol at the person trying to hack to Dropbox. Enjoy my demo reel and old notes on NXT." The celebrities are constantly dealing with hackers, and thankfully Renee does not appear to have had any sensitive information accessed. And finally, Corbin's faction gets a name. Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler are now King Corbin's henchmen, with Corbin dubbing them the Knights of the Lone Wolf. Now, we've heard worse, and considering how long the former Forgotten Sons took to get back on television, they likely don't care if they're called superheroes in training. But there you have it, guys, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly from this week's Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news stories. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.